Hey y'all, what's up? Jamie, that's me here. Welcome back to the channel. Listen, can we talk about Derrick Jaxn, please? Just for a little bit, just a little bit. I just want to talk about the interview that she did with Dear Future Wifey Podcast. She had a sit down with the guy that hosts that podcast, and it was very interesting. Now, there has been a clip that was circulating around about Danaya and some of the things that she said in the interview. And I have to say, when I saw the clip that was circulating around, it definitely made me be like, you know what, I'm gonna check this interview out. When I first saw it, basically she was talking about in that clip how she said she knew other women's bodies better than she knew her own, and in that little portion, she talked about how she would watch her husband's sex tapes with other women, and she would take the behaviors of those women in the bedroom and she would mimic those behaviors in the bedroom with him because she was fighting so much for his attention and him to be attracted to her and things, and she figured that that was going to be something to keep him from cheating or whatever. So she wanted to embody who those ladies were, like to a point where she was stalking them and trying to be like them, wearing her hair like them, move like them, talk like them, because she felt like that was something that he was interested in. And so she would do those things. And a lot of people started like giving her a lot of flack and stuff. But let me tell y'all, when I watched this, I have to say, I definitely was a person that was kind of like, I don't know, this lady seemed a little off. She seemed a little weird. But girl, I truly believe in my heart, and this is a personal opinion of mine, I truly believe that that man drove that lady crazy. And that's why we likely saw a woman that was crazy as hell. And it wasn't because of, that's how she is, girl. It was giving to me. That's what he made her out to be, for real, for real. But she had a lot of trauma in her life, and what I appreciate was the fact that she actually went through her whole story and just kind of like told us a lot of stuff about her. Now, understand, this interview was almost 3 hours long. So I don't have every single intricate detail. You guys would definitely have to go over to Dear Future Wifey Podcast and check it out for yourself and get your own interpretation and everything about it. But I do want to I definitely want to kind of go over some of the things that was talked about in this interview. So I want to actually kind of put a little something up for on the screen for the people. I just like to have like a photo or something up on the screen of this young woman. So let's see. Let me see if I could pull something up. Let's see. But either way, it was definitely a really good interview. So we're definitely gonna talk about a few things. Give me 1 second here. There we go. This was her in her interview. Okay, I thought she looked rather nice, in my personal opinion. She went and got her makeup done and everything. So yeah, she looks really nice, and she was, telling us all the stuff. But let's go back into her story a bit. And she let us know about some of the childhood trauma that she dealt with. Now, I don't recall her saying that she never had her dad, but later on, as the conversation went on, she talked about kind of like not having that dad relationship. So it makes me believe that her dad wasn't around because that was his choice. I don't know if he wasn't around because he may have passed away and she never got that opportunity, or if he was incarcerated or anything. I didn't necessarily hear that, but it did sound like she did not grow up with her dad around, so she really didn't have that type of, father figure dynamic or anything. I mean, she kind of got it from her uncle because her uncle would do a lot for her, but it still was something that was missing for her. But she talked about being the age of 19 and how she ended up hanging out at a party that her mom did not know that she was going to. I believe some of her other siblings went to this house party, and she was 19 at the time. She went, she hung out. And when she was there, she happened to go downstairs in the basement area, to just chill out for a second. All the music and stuff upstairs is loud. That's where everybody is. And she said that's where she ended up being attacked and violated, and ultimately the big art by some guy that was there. She also went on to talk about how she ended up staying in the house with that abuser at the time. Not that she slept right next to him, but the person that violated her was in the same house. And that's crazy because she was like, nobody could hear her screams or anything downstairs because everybody was upstairs and the music was so loud up there. Like, that is just crazy. And then, you had your siblings there. I think she said she has brothers or something. I think she has sisters and brothers or whatever, but you had these same people that were there, and your family members didn't even know to be able to protect you. And it really was like, I mean, when that happened to her, she kind of shut down. So she wasn't willing to share that with anybody. She didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew anything about that. And she dealt with that for a very long time. And I can imagine how many women have been violated and probably haven't spoken on some stuff to this day, about things that may have happened to them at a younger age, and which also likely leads to them not processing it and not healing from it, not dealing with it or anything, because they're able to kind of like push it out their mind and block it out as though it was something that didn't happen, knowing that different times that thought may revisit them, that situation may pop back up in their mind. But girl, this was a good one. So let's see. Yeah, she was on summer break. She said she was hanging out at a party and she had been drinking and all at the age of 19. She says that she was grabbed from behind when she was downstairs. That's when she was violated. She said nobody could hear her scream or anything because she was in the basement area, so nobody could hear her. She said she never processed it. She stayed in that same house with the abuser, and she never told her mama, she never told her siblings, she never told anybody. She held on to it for years, right? I believe she said it was 5 years that she held on to it. And then she said at some point when she was having a conversation with Derrick Jaxn. So for a lot of people that don't know, as I jumped into the story, danaya Jaxn is the current wife, okay, soon to be ex-wife to Derrick Jaxn. Y'all know Derrick Jaxn. For a lot of people that don't know, girl, he used to be out here giving all kind of advice to single women and stuff. It's crazy because he used to speak against the F-boys that he really was the entire time. That's why he could give y'all so much advice about narcissists and all this other stuff, because he was one him damn self, okay? Especially based on what the stuff his wife out here saying about him, okay? So he was really a fraud. And I remember I used to like see his posts and stuff on Facebook, and I think earlier days of Instagram, and I feel like I could have been a follower. At least if I wasn't on Instagram, at least on Facebook. And that happened like earlier, I think like somewhere probably like 2013 or somewhere 14, 15, somewhere up in there. But over time, as I was working on my own mental and stuff, he was saying just was not, connecting with me. And I was like, I can't do this guy, so I didn't want to see. I think I could have even blocked him just to like keep him from coming up on my timeline or whatever. But girl, when people started to air him out, like shortly late, like I don't want to say shortly thereafter, but like years later or whenever they did, I was like, girl, I'm glad I was on it. Cause I'm like, something off about him. I don't know what it is, but something is off about this man, and people start calling him out for the fraud that he was. And then it just slowly started to come to the forefront, ever so often, like every other year or something, it'll be some drama. And then the biggest drama that he had was when, I believe Tasha K dropped some tea about him being out here with a whole nother woman. And then he and Danaya did this video that ultimately got her dragged more than he got him dragged. And we didn't even know what all she was dealing with at that time. But in this interview, she goes into more detail to let us know what all she was facing. And I'm so glad that she did this interview. Some people are going to continue to think however they want to think about her and feel however they want to feel about her. And that's completely on y'all. But I loved that she had the opportunity to, first of all, the guy that did the interview, shout out to him, because I feel like he really let her talk. He really let her be heard. I know some people felt the way about him kind of laughing and chuckling and stuff like that, but I didn't really think too. I wasn't really bothered by it too much because Danaya was laughing at some things herself. You know what I'm saying? So outside of that, I'm like, that's how you do an interview, baby. Let somebody sit up there and get their stuff out. Because I'm sure it was therapeutic for her to also like just release and say and talk and really let you know the ins and outs of her relationship and what she was really going through with this fool. Because baby, when I tell you she put it out there, I feel like she put, girl, I have no reason to not believe her. But I feel like it's going to give people it's going to allow people to connect with her differently, in a good way. And I feel like it's a way for her to possibly, I guess, redeem herself if anybody felt like they didn't like her, they didn't care for her, or if she was weird or whatever the case was. You're going to get a clear understanding into her life and what all she was going through at that time. And I feel like it's so many women out here that can relate to her. They may not have gone through things exactly how she went through it, but they know what it's like to be mentally abused by somebody and to be treated wrong and dealing with a narcissist and all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So Yes, all right. And I appreciate her taking accountability for some of the decisions she chose to make as well, knowingly to be with this fool. Okay, but we're gonna keep going, all right? Because girl, it was good. What else? So she talked about how she held it for 5 years as far as her being violated. She never mentioned it to anybody until she mentioned it to Derrick. I believe it was like 5 years after the incident, and they were talking, and he did something, and she told him like, I was raped, and what you just did triggered me. You know what I'm saying? And whatever he did kind of related. It put her back in that headspace of where she was when she was violated. And he said, "What? You what?" Because he didn't even know about this, so they had to unpack that and kind of talk about that for a little bit. But even after that, she didn't process it for real until 12 days later. I'm sorry, 12 years later. She may have told Derrick 5 years after it happened, but she didn't fully process everything that happened to her from the time she was 19 until like 12 years later, she said. And I'm just like, girl, that's a lot to carry, because I feel like that trauma is definitely going to affect how you respond to situations and all of that, how you handle everything, your thought process, like a lot of stuff, so I'm glad that she finally got what she needed to kind of move forward from that space. So that was that. She talked about how it definitely affected a lot of different aspects of her life. Now, here's the kicker. And I don't know if her and Derrick, connected off some trauma bonding stuff, or I don't know what drew her. I don't know what made her just jump into this. But when she was violated at the age of 19, she went to college shortly thereafter, right? She ended up meeting Derrick 3 weeks after her being raped. Okay? So after being violated, she ended up meeting this man, Derrick. And she said that they pretty much went straight into a relationship. Not like immediately. You got that. So when you're in college, you got that talking phase first. So I believe it started off, she said, from tutoring. He wanted her to tutor him. She started tutoring him or whatever. And then it just led to them kind of hanging out more, spending more time together, talking on the phone all the time. Like she was really falling for him. And it was giving like, oh, I want to marry him, all this other extra stuff, right? But shortly after that, they started spending more time together, they did develop a relationship. And it was always a relationship for many years. It was like an on and off. I would say a situationship, but she called it a relationship. So they had a relationship for many years. Okay. And we'll get into that. So anywho, she said she went straight into a relationship without acknowledging or dealing with the RAPE that happened. And I was just like, ooh, girl, I know that's rough and tough, because not only did you not really tell nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't tell nobody, like, you held on to that. Like, girl, that's a lie. I couldn't imagine. She says what attracted her to Derrick was him being so charming. He's a very charming guy. And that's what made her like, hey, let's see what it is. Let's see what it's given. Then she speaks on a later time of how he was such a thought, and that he had a lineup. Okay, so I think she said, let me go back, because I did kind of like, just start listening to the interview. I ain't take a whole lot of more notes after the first part. But when she talked about being with Derrick, I believe she said that they were on and off for about 9 years. On and off for about 9 years until they decided to actually, lock it in, be together. And I believe they ended up moving from, I don't know if they were living in Alabama, but it sounds like they were moving to North Carolina. And it sounds like her family may be from Denver, Colorado, but she was getting ready to move to North Carolina. And I believe that's when he moved with her. And then from there, they ended up relocating down to Atlanta. Now, it was something else that she talked about with them. She said they were on and off for about 9 years. And I believe shortly after that, she could have gotten pregnant by him, which, eventually led to them, getting married or whatever. But she definitely talked about a time when this man would rotate women. She said that he was a thought, and how she wanted to be with him so much that she was willing to put up and deal with his BS. And I'm just like, it's the audacity, like, dudes really be having the balls out. Really be having the balls out here to play on ladies' emotions, and ladies really be, letting them. And that's just like, wow, we be over here just on some other stuff to say we want and got a piece of a man. No, ma'am, I'm glad she's in her healing phase. She said she would schedule certain times to spend time with him. And when she was leaving out of the apartment, as she's leaving out, a whole nother woman is coming in. And I'm just like, girl, she said they would pass each other on the stairs. I said, girl, what? And this your man? This your king? This who you finna stick beside? But I feel like it made her feel good to know that she was like the main girl, because she had been around since they were in college or whatever the case, or he's been dealing with her the longest. So I feel like she probably felt like that made her feel some type, like, like a badge of honor. Like, girl, I'm her at the end of the day. Y'all can mess with him, but I've been dealing with him the longest, and this and that and the other. Like, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. She went through a lot with that man for a long, long time, and I could just imagine how much trauma and triggering that happened over the time frame that she dealt with him, like just before even getting married. You know what I'm saying? Having unresolved things that she hasn't dealt with, as far as the violation and as far as not having her dad and anything else that came in her life. That's another thing I wanted to say. She talked about how she came from a white high school. So she grew up, went to a white school. It wasn't really a lot of black people there. When she talked about having a boyfriend in the past, it sounded like that boyfriend may have been white, in all honesty. Okay, that's what I was gathering, because she said it wasn't a whole lot of black people that went to that school. So she did not know a lot. And coming to Tuskegee, which is an HBCU, it was like a culture shock for her, because it's like, whoa, like she ain't really been around a whole lot of black folks like that, and learning their different ways and this, that, and the other. So I feel like that right there was also, it also made me question if she desired some type of acceptance, and knowing that she went to a white school and don't really have the ways of black people. I feel like it's just certain ways and certain things that we do when we with each other at like a HBCU versus going to an all white high school and all of that. So I can imagine it being a culture shock, and I can imagine what was going through her head when it may have came down to some type of acceptance or whatever the case is. So I feel like that played a major role in how, she handled her relationship with Derrick. And you know what else I want to say? She said Derrick approached her when she was in class or after class or whatever on some, hey, can you tutor me? Let me tell y'all something. Derrick knew what the fuck he was doing from the very beginning when he approached that girl. When he approached her on some, hey, can you tutor me, whatever, he already saw, because she was bigger than what she is, and she said that she lost like 16 pounds or whatever. But she was a thick little girl, you know what I'm saying? Like I went back through her profile and saw some older photos of her, and it looks like Miss Girl had some hips, she had some butt, like she was thicker. You know what I'm saying? I said that man saw that girl body and was like, oh, and she quiet and this and that. I feel like he immediately went on to target her. He knew what he was doing. And yeah, he just got in her head. Like once, just dating her and stuff, I feel like once he got to know her, he saw that this is a girl that I could get to do anything that I want. And I think he took advantage of her from the very beginning and played on her emotions. And she just continued to rock with it, deal with it. She talked about how I think he ended up seeing somebody else when they could have had like a minor breakup. And in order to get him back, she had got this dude that I think has now passed away. She got this dude to set up something, like they had a similar car and they'd been on a racetrack or something like that. She was using him to set up Derrick to make him think that she was moving on from him when she really wasn't. But it was all a ploy to try and get him back. The dude knew exactly what was going on, so he was down to do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, let's do it. Like, okay, I don't mind making him jealous. Like, whatever. And eventually, it did get her man back or whatever. But it also got her man back in the other BITCHs too, because he continued to deal with those other ladies as well. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, I believe they both made their way to North Carolina, and then eventually they made their way to Atlanta. Now, girl, that's where we really get into like part 2 of the interview. But a good amount of part 2 had some of part 1 in it. So let's just go into that. So first of all, they ended up getting married at some point. I believe he could have proposed to her in like 20. I don't even know what year. I don't even know what year. But he ended up proposing to her in the he proposed to her. And it was after she was pregnant with their first child. I believe once they got pregnant, that's when he was really trying to like like settle down and focus on her and all of that other stuff or whatever, which I also believe is the real reason why he actually proposed to her. I don't think he was ready for marriage or anything, but I think, you know, a lot of the family, you know, when you get pregnant or whatever the case is, they want to be like, oh, y'all need to get married and this and that. They be trying to force something. And a lot of people make those decisions on getting married based on what it is the family want versus on what it is that they want. And then y'all get married for the child and then be questioning why y'all divorce later because, you know, maybe that's not something that y'all really wanted or whatever. Anyway, girl, that's what happened. They got proposed to. Shortly after that, they ended up, you know, getting married. And I truly believe that the only reason why he did that was for that baby. I don't think that he had any intentions on changing his ways or doing none of that. He just, hey, I'm going to go ahead and marry this lady for the baby, whatever. Let me actually pretend like I'm a stand-up guy and do that, all right? The whole time they were married for that first year, he was still smashing her and he was smashing other women as well, girl. Nothing ever stopped, okay? What else did she go on to say? She says that when they did get married, at some point, while he was over there being a thought, she was aware of a lot of stuff that he was out here doing, but I feel like she was just trying to be in denial because she wanted to have her man, and she didn't want to be no divorced woman or whatever. She didn't want to be a statistic, I guess, being a single mama and stuff. At some point, they ended up having 2 kids or whatever, but she said while he was out there being a thought, she started to slowly, you know, work on herself and stuff and get her mind right and everything. For me, I just said Derrick was a and he was a whole ass fraud, in all honesty, based on how he was living his life versus how he was coming to social media and trying to encourage and preach and do whatever the hell it is to other people. And I feel like that was his mechanism that he would use, in my personal opinion, not fact, but in my personal opinion, I feel like that was the mechanism he would use to speak to single women and come off and appear as though he was a single ass man in order to pull in those different women that he would later on have different type of affairs and stuff with. So it was definitely, all of it was a scheme that he set up to come to the women with that bullshit so he can get whatever it is that he wanted out the deal. And the gag was, the whole time they was married, she said a lot of people didn't even know they was married. And as she was working on herself and doing this and that, she eventually told him, like, listen, I'm trying to go on tour with you. Like, wherever you going, I'm trying to go. So he didn't tell her she couldn't come. He allowed her to come. But when she would take pictures and stuff backstage and start working with him and stuff, a lot of women, would be touching on him and rubbing and doing all this stuff, and she felt like it was a bit inappropriate. And she used to have to say sometimes, like, you do know I'm his wife, right? And they used to be like, oh my God, wow, da 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 da, whatever. And it's like, first of all, is he not wearing his ring? That's a clear indicator. Was he not wearing the ring and you allowed it? Like, what? No, ma'am. This man was a stone cold fool, and he had got the right person because he knew she did not have the strong mindset, you know, and she was gonna let him pass. And like I said, he knew what he was doing from the beginning when he chose her, right? And for her to hang around for 9 years and for him to do whatever it is he want to do to and with her, and she still trying to hang around, them be the women that men think gonna always be there, gonna always be the fallback plan. And so he went ahead, married her, not only for the child, but I feel like, you know, probably not wanting to be lonely or whatever, and wanted to always have access to her or whatever, but still wanted to have the life that he lived. Just clownery, girl. The man was a fool. What else? She said when she wanted him to start acknowledging her by, you know, letting people know in public that they were married or whatever, she was his wife, he kept telling her she was gonna make the block hot. Girl, what? Make the block hot? What you mean make the block hot? He says he would have to let go. It's the fact that this man told her, if I start claiming you in public, I'm gonna have to let go of these people. How do you fix your mouth to tell your wife that? If I start claiming you in public, wife, I'm going to not be able to talk to Sarah, Jane, Mary, and Lisa. What? That you couldn't say that to me and not get folded the fuck. Like, you excuse me? Like, the boldness was insane, okay? The boldness, insane to me, okay? But I also feel like when he was talking about making the block hot, when he said you're gonna make the block hot, I said I also feel like not only do he may think that, oh, you know, I ain't gonna be able to talk to these people, or at least so she thought. I feel like it also means if I let people know that I'm married, it's really not going to stop them, because you have a lot of women that don't give a damn and actually get a kick out of messing around with other people's significant others. You know what I'm saying? Messing around with somebody else's husband, messing around with somebody else's boyfriend. I feel like they get a kick out of it to see if they can like get them. Because I feel like guys do that too. I feel like women do that too. They like when he says that he married, it's not gonna, stop a lot of women from trying to talk to him. Okay, it may stop certain women from trying to talk to him, but then you have a lot of them that may not have those morals and may not care or whatever, and may look at you, size you up, and be like, "Girl, he ain't gonna be married to her long. She don't even seem like his type." Whoop the whoop, and they're gonna be trying to slide in. It's just like, so the block definitely was going to be hot. All right. I just felt like the guy was a classic manipulator, narcissist, mental abuser. Like, and these are just my personal opinions. Now, she also lets us know when they lived in Atlanta, girl, get this, baby. Girl, stop it today. So she said they lived in a mansion in Atlanta. I believe she said it was a 9,000 square foot house, but that's big as fuck. A mansion in Buckhead up the street from one of the Migos. Girl, what? Then says this motherfucker went and got him a condo in Midtown Atlanta. Okay? Girl, not that far from the airport, right in the midst of everything, if you trying to have you a bachelor pad. Perfect spot. Okay? And would spend, let's see, 95% of his time at that condo while this woman is at home with their 2 children, taking care of their 2 kids. Do you hear what I say? And when she asked him about just doing everything at home, he said, "Oh, the kids be too loud." You got a 9,000 square foot home. I'm sure it's a room that them kids can go into while you over there doing your thing. I'm sure y'all probably got a basement or something you could build in the back to create your studio so you could be at the house. But you trying to go get a condo and then go sit up there and talk about some it's for business purposes. And let me tell you, I'm sitting over here like, Danaya, and you believe this stupid action? No, Danaya had sense the whole time. What it was is that Danaya did not want to be in a position to where that man would, leave. She didn't want to say that. She didn't want to do too much. She didn't want to be a single mama with these 2 kids. She was appreciating the bit of the lifestyle that she had because she was a stay-at-home mom. Everything was taken care of and provided for her. She said the nannies and the maids, not the nannies, but the maids, that the people that cleaned the house was at the house more than his ass was. They had more time with her at the house than he was. Like, what? So it's weird because it's giving you married her, of course, for the kids, but also for a particular image, for a particular audience, right? Like if you went to the church or something like that, you want to be able to say that you married and all this and that. But you went and got your condo for who the fuck you really are. A clown ass nigga. Girl, I'm so glad this lady finally coming out, being able to like say her piece and say everything that she, experienced and went through, because I feel like a lot of ladies are going to be able to relate and not try and make this lady seem like she crazy or she a fool. I feel like the crazy that we may see is because of who he made her out to be. Okay? That's what I feel. Yeah, she may have had her traumas and things, because of her childhood and stuff, but girl, he contributed a lot to that foolishness for real. And I appreciate the accountability that she took too. But like I said, he had a condo and a mansion, convinced her that the condo was for business, as if he couldn't build a studio or anything at his own house. And I feel like she wanted to be in denial about things because she didn't want to be a single parent or whatever, and she enjoyed the lifestyle. Now, eventually she did come to leave him, but it was really like she started to, like I said, when he was out there cheating, doing his thing, she started to work on herself, work on her mental. She felt like she needed God. She had to call her mama like, "Listen, girl, I need to get in y'all Bible study class. Like, I need to get something together." Right? And then at some point, weird things around the house started to happen. She started to experience different stuff. And that's what really helped her get focused in on like God and things like that, right? So what ended up happening was it was like some paranormal activity that was happening, like random things falling in the house, her watching her daughter on the camera literally being lifted up off her bed, and next thing you know, she's on the floor. And I'm like, yeah, BIT, I'm with you. And you know what's so interesting about that? Because her mama told her, like, you're dealing with spiritual warfare. or whatnot, right? So that's what she was saying. She said, I was waiting for you to come around because that's what you're dealing with, and yada, yada, yada. They had a whole conversation. The girl was like, Danae was like, well, I'm in my Bible. I know God. Her mama said, nah, you don't know him like I know him. Like, you're not in it like you need to be in it, right? And it's so interesting to hear her say that. And I'm not equating this, like, I'm going to say something that kind of resonates with my relationship. I didn't go through what she went through, but I went through some of what she went through in a past relationship. And that relationship definitely was turmoil for me, 1000%. And to hear that she had paranormal activity in that home, and you also are not in a good space with your spouse, your husband. It wasn't my husband, you know what I'm saying? But it was my boyfriend at the time, like common law over there in Alabama. But anyway, girl. So we were living together, and the house that we lived in was like very beautiful, like up to date, everything nice, like, girl, it was giving. However, I started to experience that activity. I started to hear footsteps coming up the stairs, and nobody was out there. So I would like fall asleep with my foyer light on. Like, it would be like little things that would happen in the house, and I'm just like, did I move that? Like, what's this? Da-da-da. One night we stand down, we all chilling in his man cave downstairs, and then the broom out of nowhere just fell. Nobody had been in the kitchen. The broom had been in the same space. Nobody was using the broom. The broom just fell. And I said, what the fuck? And then when I would be in the kitchen and I would cook, I would always feel like something was standing over me. So I literally, like where my stove was, I would turn my back to the wall just so I can cook, so I could see both angles of the the entryway, because I just felt like something else was in there. Then I used to hear noises from next door, but nobody lived over there, because the guy that did have that home next door, because it was like a townhouse or whatever. So the guy that did have the home, he was overseas in like Kuwait or something like that, or Iraq, one of the two. He was like overseas, so he wasn't even there. You know, so I'm like, what is this? Like, it was just like some weird stuff. And I'll never forget, it was nighttime. My guy was downstairs in his man cave. I was upstairs and I was watching TV. And I'll never forget this. On the side was like where my TV is my door. All the lights upstairs were off. Only my TV was on. Right next to the door, I see a white man standing in the middle of the door with a plaid shirt and some pants on. It was like an older white man. And I rolled out my bed so quick and hit the light that was like right next to my bed. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, so it was just like a lot of weird ass activity. And in that home was also the home that we did most of our like arguing and everything in. So it's just so interesting to hear her talk about everything that she was going through with that man, and then also having to deal with that paranormal activity that came out of nowhere as well. And I'm like, ooh, I'm with you on that. I don't know how to like really relate the two for real, but it's just interesting that you was going through that horrible relationship, and then this weird shit started happening. I'm like, girl, that's around the same time as me, and this, like, it was just real weird. So I'm like, I'm with you on that. Now, after that happened for Danaya, and she started talking about, all of the things that was happening around the house, and him not wanting to come back to the house, and him wanting to stay at the condo and stuff. And she was like, we need to leave. We need to go to Denver. We need to do this and that. And he said, no. He says, I'm not going nowhere. He said, I would rather, I think he said it at this point. I said, when did I don't know if he said it before she went to Denver or after, but I'm gonna say this. At some point he told her, I would rather live in this condo miserable and alone than be in that mansion with you. Something like that, than to live in a house being miserable with you. Something like that he said, and then also told her, don't come over here or I'm gonna call the cops on you. Like, girl, what? To your wife now, the lady that got your kids that you keeping up in a whole nother mansion so you could live this other fraud ass lifestyle somewhere else with a side chick or chicks, because you had them in rotation, according to your wife. Baby, that right there was a mess. Okay, so after he said that to her, she said okay, and she hit her mama up and she was like, listen, I'm ready. How soon can you get here? Her mama flew in within 24 hours. She loaded up that car, packed that car up, and they drove another 24 hours straight to Denver. Well, she drove for like 15 hours straight because she really wasn't trying to take no break. But here's the gag. Miss Girl said that he made it to Denver before they even got there, but he was at the wrong address. And my thing is this: how the fuck did he know that you were headed to Denver? You must have communicated and told him that that's where you were going. If I'm leaving and you're not gonna know shit. You're not going to know that I'm gone. It's not going to be any communication, no interaction. So I don't know how he knew. Maybe he looked on the cameras, saw her mama, saw them loading up, and was like, okay, she must be headed to Denver. Let me go out there. Maybe he pieced it together like that. But I was like, girl, are you telling him where you're going in hopes for him to show up? So she did say when he showed up there that he was like, hey, where you at? I'm here. And she said he was at a house that her mom no longer lived at. And she was like, my mama don't even live over there. And he was like, well, can we just talk this and that? It's like, but you didn't want to talk just a minute ago. NIGGA. You just sat up there and told this girl that you would rather be in a condo than to live with her and be miserable. And then you also said that you was going to call the cops on her. Now you flying over here to Denver. Like, what kind of tactics you got going on? Girl, just over there playing on her emotions, because again, all he wants to do is have a piece of access to you. Like, So she on the phone with him, and her mama said, girl, we just got here. You been driving all day. You ain't going nowhere. You and these kids finna come in this house. You ain't finna go nowhere, nothing. Her mama was on the phone with somebody. And then that person even said, get off that phone, X, Y, Z, ABC. So she said that created turmoil within her family and him, again, between the two of them, because he started coming back saying, your mama control this and your mama controlling how you move and this and that. And it's like, okay, yeah, now this is what a more narcissist and abusive men do. They try to play you against your family and your friends so that they can isolate you and continue to do what it is that they want to do to you, right? And that's what he was using with that situation. No. That's not how that. I don't like that. But eventually she did say they sat down. They had a talk. They met at IHOP with the kids. Can't remember what the conversation was. I think he still wanted his marriage and he was going to work on some stuff. She didn't know when she was going to come back. She just needed a little time and she needed help. The lady was going fucking crazy. Okay, the lady was going crazy. You over there doing what the hell it is that you want to do. You're not trying to spend time with her. It's clear that you're not attracted to her no more. You're really not interested. She's trying to hold on to a marriage that really don't fucking exist. She got these 2 damn kids. She ain't got no help for real. Yeah, y'all got maids and people coming in cleaning the house, but y'all ain't got nobody to help her with these fucking kids. She losing her mind. She needed to go back and be with her family so she could re-up on her energy and get herself back together. And I'm sure her family helped out tremendously with those kids. Okay? Girl, he was finna run her into the ground. That lady said if she would have never went and took that break that she needed, them 8 months and stuff like that, and got herself together, she was like, she don't even know if she'll be here today. Like, just going through it. So she says that she eventually came around to leaving him, but she left. But when she left, she said she was in a financial crisis, which was interesting, okay? It made me believe that he cut her off from some money. She said, during that time when I left him, we were also dealing with a financial crisis as well. And I'm over here like, okay, well then he must have cut you off. She wouldn't really say what it was because she said she didn't have access to the money, so she wasn't really sure what it was for real. But she just know that they told her it was a financial crisis. And I said, girl, what is given is that he stopped giving because her cell phone ended up getting cut off. Like her cell phone wasn't on for like, I believe a few weeks or something when she was out there in Denver. And I said, girl, that's that man trying to show you that he got control over you because one, they cut your phone off. They told you it was a financial crisis. And they said that just in case you thought that you was going to get up and leave and go without him, he wanted you to know that don't make a move without me. That's what it is that he was trying to flex on your ass and let you know, okay? That's what he was doing. As most men, I feel, do, that make a ton of money with these ladies that live at home and all this and that, and they don't, that stay at home and they don't go out and try and get a business or get a coin for themselves or even take a piece of his coin and stack it up. You know what I'm saying? That's their leverage that they hold over your head. And I feel like he cut your phone off, but I guarantee you he cut that other bitch's phone on, okay? Yes, ma'am. He cut that other bitch phone on. That phone got cut on, ma'am, and ain't no telling he probably was over there paying more of her bills as well, which is why y'all was in a financial crisis. But, those were my initial thoughts, right? But as I'm talking it out with y'all, I feel like, girl, that was him trying to have mind control over you, Debo. Girl, he was trying to control everything, talking about a damn financial crisis. He wanted you to go ahead and be aware that if you think you're finna leave, some shit finna get shut down. It's really just that simple. But anywho, because I'm over here like, now he let your phone get shut down, but he was able to catch a flight same day to get his ass out there to Denver to stop you. Girl, what? Like, girl, that money could have went on that phone. Like, it don't cost that much, I'm sure. But anyway, and I'm sure y'all probably on the same plan, ain't it? But knowing him, he probably got a different plan, so you ain't got to be all in his records. But we know you know how to get access to the records because you also was able to see text messages between him and other women. You were also able to see video sex tapes of him and other women. So y'all probably was on the same plan. But I'm like, how your phone get cut off and his don't? But let's keep going, all right? Now, by the time they got to Denver, she said he was already in Denver. We talked about that, okay? She spoke on knowing, this is where she gets to the part about saying she knew several women's bodies better than she knew her own, okay? She said she studied them. She watched them having sex. She imitated their moves in the bedroom with her own husband, thinking that that was something he liked, something that he desired. Okay. She was hoping that he was going to choose her over them, because she was just trying to figure out what's keeping you from, staying in the household, what's making you go outside the household. So let me start doing this stuff. Now, he didn't necessarily know that's what she was doing, because she felt like if she would have kind of told him that, he would have thought she was weird. He would have said this and that, whatever the case was, probably left her. So she kept some things close to the vest, but she was definitely high key, low key stalking the ladies, seeing what they like, seeing how they dress, how they wear their hair, and start to mimic that. And it also was a point in the interview where she kind of like mentioned that that's something women do. When they man cheat or whatever like that, and they see the type of woman they cheat with, they try to be a little bit like that, like that woman. Now, I don't know necessarily if that's true. That was not my experience, but I won't say I don't know if that's true, but I'll say I do believe that's true. That was not my experience, but if I hear it from this person, chances are there's 5 to 10 other people that think like her, and there's a lot of people in this world. So I feel like a lot of women are able to relate that when this would happen to them, they likely would do the same thing outside of the SEX tapes, because they probably didn't have access. But if they did, they probably did try a little something. You know what I'm saying? So it's just her being honest with her truth. Some people online were like, oh, if I was her, I would have held back. I wouldn't have said all this. Girl, fuck that. And F you. Because in all honesty, it wouldn't be her testimony if she withheld some of this stuff. And if she's speaking to it and you don't like it, then maybe the message wasn't for you to begin with. It's for somebody else that's going through their healing process or needs to go through their healing process, don't know how they finna get out, and may hear her story and might, it might give them some strength or whatever the case is, or just give them comfort knowing that they're not the only person that's going through or been through this, So I'm just like, girl, how you gonna try and tell this lady she shouldn't share her testimony? It's her story, and it's better coming from her than coming from somebody else. But that's just my personal. Y'all gonna do what y'all want to do, okay? All right. So yeah, she also, when she said this, when she talked about studying these women's bodies and doing all this extra stuff, it was really back during the time when they were engaged. So this was even before they were married. She was doing this stuff when they were engaged. And I'm just like, wow. It's giving I need acceptance, validation, approval. I'm yearning for that from you. And to me, as I'm listening and stuff, it definitely ties back to her childhood. I don't know what else she went through, but just hearing about going to the white school, then having that culture shock, not necessarily relating to other people, and you being in this environment, you might want to be accepted a bit more, and then also dealing with the trauma, the sexual trauma of being violated, and then constantly allowing him to violate you in other ways, you know what I'm saying? But still, sexual trauma, in my personal opinion, girl, I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't help but think about how many diseases could have possibly been captured and how many she may have had. She didn't go into that. I'm not saying that she had any of them, any STDs or anything like that, but I'm just saying I couldn't help but wonder and question if that's something that happened, because she said something like, I knew about 11 women. 11? And it still was more at a later time. That's wild, but not surprising, okay? She said she was out there in Denver for about 8 months, getting her mind right, getting herself together, healing herself, working on herself, and doing what she needed to do to get back to herself. And she gave him a list of 13 things and told him what it is that she had wanted. I believe that he had to let go of the condo or something. They had to renew their vows. He had to let go of a lot of women. He had to change his number. It was a lot of things that he had to do. And she said it wasn't things that he did immediately, but over time he did come around. And her being in Denver for 8 months is primarily, it's interesting, because it's like, were you there in 8 months to truly heal yourself? It didn't sound like that necessarily, although she said she got a lot of healing while she was there. I don't think she got 80% of healing. I feel like she could have got 40% of healing, in all honesty, while she was out there. Because the reason she was out there for 8 months primarily was because she was because it took him that long to come around. So when he finally started to come around, she let him know. Also, I think on the list of 13 things, she said, we can't go back to Atlanta. Atlanta is not the place for us. Okay. And it's sad because it sounds like she was running from things, right? Thinking that environments are going to change him, thinking if I implement this in the bedroom and doing that, that's going to change him. And it's like, girl, that's just who the fuck he is. And honestly, he was that person when you met him that first day of school or whenever y'all met. He was that person. He had already sought you out, in my personal opinion. And he's just always, so it was nothing that you were ever going to do to be more to him than what you were. And he only married you for your kids, and I hate that, But anywho, so once that happened, they eventually moved to like Texas, and they found somewhere to be out there in Texas. Okay. So they were working on their relationship. I do believe that he was still out there cheating. I believe she mentioned that he was still out there doing his thing. So nothing really changed for real. Cause she said something like he changed his number, but lady still had access. Yeah. From social media. Okay. From emails and stuff. They still had access, and he still allowed them to have access. All right. She also said that there was some sneaky messages and sneaky things you can do on the iPhone that's going to, sneaky things that you can do on the iPhone that can hide messages or something. I said, girl, I don't know nothing about that, but you do, so that's all that matters. So he was still out here getting around doing his thing, so much so that Tasha K ended up dropping some tea. All right. And I believe she said she dropped that, or that tea came out around March 21st. Okay. She says that when it dropped, she was never surprised by it because her and Derrick had already had a talk, and he already told her about all of that. So she wasn't surprised. However, it did trigger her because it hurt her all over again, because this isn't something that was a private matter now. It's something on a public level. And now I'm getting drugged for it. Like now I'm being, you know what I'm saying? Like now this is something we have to face and we have to deal with together. So she was just going through a lot of that time when she sat down and made that dumbass video with him sitting next to him looking like a deer in headlights. She said she was going through a lot because of, and I'm glad that she said that, because a lot of times, we see things and we don't go beyond the surface. We don't put ourselves in other people's shoes. Sometimes we look at it for what it is and we judge it right off, off the cover. And what she said was, it was a lot. I believe his stepdad had just died. So they had just came from his situation, his wake, his funeral. Then I think they had some other stuff going on, she mentioned, but the two things I do recall was one, his stepdad passing away, and her finding out that she was pregnant with their third child. So that was just a whole lot. Like, wow, I'm pregnant with this man's child. I'm thinking that we're moving in a better place, and then here we are. He is public now. He's cheating on me. Now I'm looking like a fool. I done told my family. My family told me not to come back with this man when I was getting ready to move back down there. And I said, forget y'all. I'm grown. I'm going to do what I want to do. Now I'm over here looking like a fool because everybody, including my family, finna know that he done dogged me the hell out. And then she said he had already recorded his video and posted it on social media of what he wanted to tell people, but he got drugged, so he took it down. So when she went in there to check on him in the studio, he decided to bring her in on it. And she was like, I don't be on camera. I don't be doing all this, So she was like, yeah, I was a deer in headlights. Like, yeah, whatever he said. And I'm going to stick beside him. And we're going to do this together. She didn't know what the hell to do. So she's trying to process the fact that, one, she's pregnant and not really sure how far along she was. I think she learned that she was 6 weeks at the time. But she's trying to process that. You know what I'm saying? Then trying to turn around and process the fact that, damn, this is public. Then I got to process the fact that my family probably calling me, going the hell off, telling me, they told me so. I got all this shit going on in my head. Like, I ain't trying to sit down on this damn camera. And it's like, it pisses me off a little bit as I listen to it, because it's like, Danaya, girl, he played the shit out of you. Because all you've wanted was acknowledgement from this man. And the moment that he gave you the acknowledgement, it was acknowledgement for the benefit of his fucking self. Had nothing to do with you. Everything to do with him clearing his name and not fucking up his business so he could continue to make money and control you and whatever the hell else he was going to do. Like, that's what it was given to me. Not you wanting to be acknowledged and you going on these trips and being behind the scenes taking pictures and stuff for this man. And women get to touch on, and it's the gag is he not even checking the women that's touching them. She's having to let them know that she's the wife. Like, girl, what? You've been over here yearning for acknowledgement and attention, and the acknowledgement and the attention that he finally gives to you is the attention that is only going to further embarrass you, because he couldn't sit in his embarrassment and his bullshit by himself. He had to sit in it and bring you in on it. And then the crazy thing is the people drug you more than they drug him with your helmet of salvation. Now, some of it I do feel like was warranted on your own end based on the things that you did following up after that. You know what I'm saying? You did start to do a whole lot more. You said that you wasn't, used to being in front of the camera, but you got real comfortable being in front of the camera after the fact when you started to sit up there and throw scriptures at people and saying folks that come up and speak up against you and all this and that, this is going to happen to your children and this is going to happen to you and da-da-da-da-da and all that. Like, girl, it's like you giving us all this energy, but the energy needs to go to Derrick. And here's the gag. The gag was the fact that when she was doing these videos and snapping on people and stuff, at some point at a later time, later on down the road, right? Because I think the incident happened in March. So I think she could have been drugged, talked about for a long time. So months later, when she came to the front trying to talk about people and throw scriptures at them or whatever she was saying, because I remember when that moment went viral, Derrick had told her a few days before that he didn't even want to be married to her no more. Yikes. But then you come on social media, still working on your healing, sitting up there talking about if you speak against us and you say this and that, then these things are going to happen to you. Now I'm going to have to call you out when you're wrong because that ain't got shit to do with us. You need to worry about this man that made you look like a fool and only put you on the camera to benefit him. That's who you need to be worried about. You should have been saying, when you harm me and you do this and you disrespect your wife and the mother of your children, then this is going to happen for you. This is not going to work out. X, Y, and Z is going to come against you. Those scriptures should have been going to him, not to the people, in my personal opinion. Okay. Now she also goes on to say that I feel like she was in a lot of turmoil mentally after this situation happened. She said she would look at her daughter because he is certain type of women that he would cheat with, right? I believe it was women that were darker than her that he would cheat with, and her daughter had that complexion, and she was like, dang, even my daughter has what she said even my daughter were the complexion or has the things that you would cheat in women or something like that. Even my daughter has the complexion of the women that you would cheat with or whatever. I don't know if she would say that her daughter had the characteristics at such a young age, but I know she said complexion. All right. And she said she would say, like, y'all had her, I just carried her. Like, her mindset about herself was really like warped. Like, it was really trash of how she thought about herself. I'm glad she's come out of that and she's continuing to, work on that. So we shall see. But it definitely sounded like she envied her daughter. And she said that it just affected her from parenting her daughter how she should because of, her resentment for the dad and those women that he would mess with, and seeing that her daughter, had the complexion or whatever of those women. It kind of prevented her for a moment from being the proper parent she needed to be to her child. I was just like, damn. Whew, girl, that man really sent you through some shit. He really did. He really sent you through some shit. She says that when she did that video coming up against people, we already talked about that. She said that he ended up, sending her a text message sometime in September or whatever, and letting her know that he wanted a divorce from her. Let her know, like, okay, yeah, that's what you're trying to do. No. He told her a few days earlier and said, hey, I don't think that I can do this marriage thing with you no more. I want a divorce. That's what he said. And then a few days later, she ended up saying, whatever she said in the video. Now, gag this. Prior to him texting her that, I believe she said they had just engaged in sexual activity a few days prior. Shortly after they engaged in that sexual activity, he told her, hey, I don't want to have sex with you anymore because I guess she was on her healing journey and he didn't want to affect that and whatever it was. Then shortly after that was when the text message came saying, hey, I'm done with being married to you. So even after learning, and this was all last year, so it's going to take her a minute to unravel all of this and really heal and blossom into what she needs to be, because he still told you that he wanted a divorce, and you were still willing, in my personal opinion, even after being publicly embarrassed in March, you were still willing to operate with him as you have always operated with him, because you did not want to be that woman that was a single mom to these kids. And you also, in my personal opinion, did not want to lose the challenge. You didn't want to lose the game, right? Because you were the wife. They could just be side chicks or whatever, but I'm the wife. I'm the one that has his kids or whatever. So it took him. And I hate that for you, that this man dogged you out as much as he did, and then turn around and he come to you and tell you, after he's used you up and used you for his benefit in every capacity, tell you, hey, I no longer want this anymore. You can go. What? And then I believe shortly after that, it was he popped out and he was with a whole nother girl that he's supposed to be in a relationship with. Just out here embarrassing the hell out of you. So as you're it wasn't that long ago, girl. It was really just in September, October when all of this happened. And that means that it was roughly about 6-7 months ago, if that, so for me, you're still in that space. Like, you've been with this man, since college. And he's put you through a lot. So it's also going to take a lot for you to unravel a lot of the trauma and things that you went through with him, so you can learn new behavior, learn your worth, and learn how to move forward in a new relationship. But what I did appreciate was her saying she's not interested in dating anybody right now. She's not interested in jumping into anything when it comes to whether or not she's still a wife or married. She says in the eyes of God, yes, she is, but she ain't trying to be with nobody, because right after being violated sexually, she jumped into a relationship with this man without giving herself no time. So she deserves her time, and she deserves to work on herself and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, go do that. Go work on yourself. The conversation came up about whether Derrick would go on the podcast. And the answer is no. She didn't think so. I said, girl, of course not. Of course not. And so the guy was like, the host was like, I haven't seen him do any podcast. I said, and you won't, because what it gives is a person like him does not want to be held accountable. He's going to want to continue to spread whatever message he deems necessary, and whoever's going to eat it up, and whoever's going to, let him suck and do whatever else it is that he's going to do, he's going to continue to do his thing. But if you think he's going to come on your platform and it's going to jeopardize him in any capacity, he not gonna do that. Oh, and then she also said this. When he told her that he wanted to divorce her, she said, okay, if that's what you want. So then she says the very next day, he makes a video and says, if a person tells you, okay, if that's what you want, that's their way of manipulating you. If you tell a person something and they respond and they say, okay, if that's what you want, that's that person using their manipulation on you. What? When you've been manipulating this girl for fucking years? For years, and actually, in all honesty, you've been manipulating your audience, in my personal opinion. And I'm over here looking at your page, and the gag for me is the fact that you have about 1.3 million followers. You still got 103 million people following you and your antics. And the gag is that Jackie Christie is a follower, child, and Tiffany Whitlow, if you know who that is a follower. Girl, that's a whole lot. I can't take it. But girl, that's y'all person, that's y'all leader, and y'all gonna stick beside them, girl. Do what y'all want to do, but shout out to her for letting it all out, letting it all hang out, letting us know her truth and her experience being in this marriage with this man. And I believe everything that girl said. I believe everything she said. I believe it. It's really just that simple for me. But I want you guys to go ahead and hop down in the comments. I'm sure this video may be a much bit longer than what I was expecting it to be. I'm sure it could have been even more longer had I taken even more detailed notes. Like I said, the interview was roughly about like 3 hours long, for real. So I can expect this one to be long as well. But if you've checked it out, let me know your thoughts and comments about everything down below in the comments. If you have yet to check it out, let me know if you're going to slide over there and, in your free time while you working, girl, you're going to just let that thing play and you're going to get into some things. Let me know your thoughts. That's all that I got. I'm Jamie, that's me. Okay. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share my videos, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Jamie, that's me. And I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.